you're reading the psalm, did you say?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we're going to start with a reading from Emmett Fox, and he starts by instructing us to read Psalm 46. And part of Psalm 46 is going to be the jumping spot for my short talk. I'm going to read each stanza twice, once in the Lamsa version and once in the King James version, because there are some pretty big differences. So we'll start with the Lamsa each time, and then we'll do the King James, and then Phyllis will read the commentary from Emmett Fox. 1. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. And King James. God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble. 2. Lamsa. Thou hast been with us always. Therefore will we not fear when the earth quakes and mountains are shaken into the heart of the sea. King James. Therefore will we not fear, though the earth be removed, and though the mountain be carried into the midst of the sea. 3. Lamsa. Though the waters thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the force thereof. King James. Though the mountains thereof roar and be troubled, though the mountains shake with the swelling thereof. 4. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of our God, the holy place of the Most High. There is a river, the streams whereof shall make glad the city of God, the holy place of the tabernacles of the Most High. 5. Lamsa. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her in the early morning. King James. God is in the midst of her. She shall not be moved. God shall help her, and that right early. 6. The heathen raged, the kingdoms trembled. He raised his voice, the earth quaked. King James. The heathen raged, the kingdoms were moved. He uttered his voice, the earth melted. 7. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. 8. Come, behold the works of God, for he does wonders in the earth. King James. Come, behold the works of the Lord, what desolations he hath made in the earth. 9. He makes wars to cease to the end of the earth. He breaks the bow and cuts the spear asunder. He burns the chariot in the fire. King James. He maketh wars to cease unto the end of the earth. He breaketh the bow and cutteth the spear in sunder. He burneth the chariot in the fire. 10. Repent and know that I am God. I am exalted among the heathen, and I am exalted in the earth. And this is a big difference. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heathen. I will be exalted in the earth. 11. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. And from King James. The Lord of hosts is with us. The God of Jacob is our refuge. Okay.
Vital faith. Among all the beautiful and heart-searching prayers of the Bible, there's none that surpasses the wonderful poem that we call the 46th Psalm. It begins, as do nearly all the Bible prayers, with an expression of faith in God. This is extremely important in practice. You need to affirm constantly that you do believe in God, not merely as a vague, abstract concept, but as a real, vivid, actual power of life, always available to be contacted in thought, never changing and never failing. The psalm closes with a command and an affirmation. Be still and know that I am God. I will be exalted among the heavens, among the heathen, and I will be exalted in the earth. This is really the whole Bible in a nutshell. Be still and know that I am God. This is the very last thing that we want to do when we are worried or anxious. The current of human thought is always hurrying us along to its own ends, and it seems much easier to swim with it by accepting difficulties than to draw resolutely away from these things and contemplate God, which is the one way out of trouble. Even in your prayers, there is a time to cease active work and, having done all, to stand, to be still, and know that I am God.
Thank you. So, I want to explore the non-literal understanding of the birth of Jesus. The night 2023 years ago that allegedly this special child was born. The first thing I did, well, I can't say the first thing, but in thinking about it, I wondered what the standard metaphysical explanation is. And of course, I looked on Unity, and Unity had this to say, two different pieces. In the individual consciousness, the meaning of Jesus being born in Bethlehem of Judea is that the principles of truth have laid hold of the intelligent substance of spirit, which is Bethlehem, and through praise, which is Judea, have brought the Christ into manifestation. And then it goes on to say in this particular writing, it is wise to protect the newborn spiritual consciousness from contact with Herod, the personal ego. Herod seeks, quote, the young child to destroy him, end quote. But under guidance of spirit, no harm comes to the child. He is taken down into Egypt, down into protected places of the subconscious, to remain until the personal ego destroys itself. And then the Christ child is free to come forth and to express. Then another place I found a writing from Charles Filmer of 1910, as I recall. It is thus seen that the birth of Christ is the beginning of the inner realms of consciousness, of a higher set of faculties that, when grown to full stature, save the whole person from ignorance and sin. So, this is wonderful, deep, if you will, abstract spiritual thinking. No, I'm not criticizing it. But I tend to be a foot on the ground kind of guy. And thinking as I was approaching the fact that I would be doing a talk tonight, I had, if you will, a revelation of my own, or a revelation given to me about this. A different, I don't know if it's a competing metaphor, but it seems worth talking about and thinking about on this night. Now, you notice that Lamsa said, repent and know, and the King James was, be still and know. So first I was stumbling about that, but if you repent, then your soul can be at ease. If you're not repenting, then you have all these emotions and conflicts and guilt and toxic things. So I'm going to say that probably the meaning of repent in Lamsa's translation fits with be still. And when was Christ born? In the still of the night. Or so it is said. You know, we didn't have a clock back then. We didn't have a gynecologist making note of the time and writing it on the medical chart. But it's, I think, fairly well accepted that a huge portion of kids are born in the middle of the night, and this is what the way the story goes. So we're talking about a time of stillness and the bringing into being of something new, something wonderful, something conceptually, powerfully different, which was the Christ child. Now, Richard Rohr, in his writings, talks about how important it is when we are meditating to connect with God to have that small, still place to go to. His argument being that you cannot do it without silence. He says, in fact, without some degree of inner and even outer silence, we are never living, never tasting the moment of touching God. And he also says, you cannot hear silence, but it is that by which you do hear. And that's where I'm going. You cannot capture silence, he says. It captures you. It is the kind of thinking that is not thinking. And it is the kind of thinking that mostly sees. So I'm here to say the story of the Christ child in metaphor teaches us that to connect with the divine, we have to be in that still, quiet place, the still of the night. The night being the blankness when we are out of touch with the divine, and when we are not being distracted by the day-to-day, the higgledy-piggledy, the trifugalities, all the stray thoughts that keep us from being able to meditate, from being in the silence. And until we are in the silence, we will not be able to hear what is being communicated to us from the divine, from the other side, from God, whatever set of words we want to use. So as you think about the story, think about applying it to your walk with the divine. That, like Mary, find a quiet place where you can sit, where you are sitting in silence that you do not hear, because that is the time that new information, new connection with the divine can be born in you. Speaking from my own experience, when I do messages, I have to go into a quiet place inside me. It may look the same out here, but if I'm frantically thinking, which is noise, I can't hear the truth. I can't get the revelations, I can't get the messages that I regard it as my duty to share with each of you. And in your own walk, please take the time, intentionally set aside time for silence. Whether it's sitting outside in a tree, leaning against a tree, letting the bird songs and the animal sounds just wash over you, the wind wash over you. Let the silence, the stillness be there with you. And then you can hear whatever is to be told you. And that's what the Christ child and the birth of the Christ child, whether we take the story or whatever happened, because it seems pretty certain there was a Jesus the Christ who did say wonderful things. But we can use the story as a guide for ourselves. In the still of the night, allow yourself to hear the truths that can come to you only in the still of the night and in the still heart. Ellie, yes ma'am.
In that same verse in the Complete Jewish Study Bible, the one that you read, it says, "Desist and learn that I am God, supreme over the nations, supreme over the earth. Adonai Seavot, the Lord of hosts, is with us, our fortress, the God of Yaakov." So it even puts a different spin on it, desist,
Yes.
which is the same root where Sabbath or Shabbaton comes from, to desist and learn that he is, who he says he is. And with learning, that aspect of being still comes into play, because you can't learn when you're running around, when your mind's full of things. You have to be still and in a quietness learn. I've often heard Lori R say that the same, when I'm still, I can think and I can see what lies ahead. So it's that same stillness of being still in his presence and learning. And then in the Hebrew, that word still, or Rapha, that action word means to heal. So again, it's showing us that we need to be still so we can heal, so we can receive medicine. And of course, then, it was herbs, pulverized into powder that we drank, for the body to heal. And when you look at the pictographs of the word Rapha, it's a head and then an open mouth, which translates into a man being open. So when you're open, you're still and you can learn.
Cool. Thank you. I love the idea of desist. So repent, desist, be still, all referencing the same thing of give yourself the silence you do not hear. Phyllis found a poem today that seemed like the right benediction. I'm sorry, it wasn't a poem. It was a writing from Brother Mandus from the World Healing Crusade. And by the way, if you look up World Healing Crusade in, I think it's Blackpool, England, you can get on their mailing list at no cost, and they send you a nice quarterly devotional that's absolutely wonderful. And they are in league with us, if you will. They preach God's love first and foremost, and God's love reaches all people, all places. They're not the traditional evangelist or rah rah rah, we're the only way. So this is what he said as a devotional for today that I suggest we carry each of us through into this week. He wrote, "Let us therefore be a day of prayer for others. In complete self-forgetting, arise into a full communion with Christ and know him in intercession for all whom you know to be in need and for the whole world. Believe in the liberation of absolute love in all response to your prayer." And as we depart from here, let us carry that into our world this week. And we'll see you back here on New Year's Eve. And know that if in the interim you need some prayer or want to talk about something, we're here for you. So, blessings to you all, whatever you plan to do or not do this evening, this evening that allegedly the Christ child was born. Have a wonderful time, have a mystical time, and have a silent time. Until we talk again, many blessings to every one of you.